Do you have a Lincoln penny lying around? Don't overlook it. Some of these 1-cent coins are worth thousands of dollars today. From rare mint errors to valuable wheat and memorial designs, your penny could be a hidden treasure. Stay tuned till the end. You might be holding a rare Lincoln penny worth a fortune. The 1974 Lincoln penny might seem like just another ordinary cent, the kind you'd see in a handful of loose change or forgotten inside an old coffee jar. Millions of them were minted, and for most people, they're nothing more than a small copper coin that's easy to overlook. But hidden among those countless pennies are a few special pieces that tell a completely different story. A story of minting errors, rare variations, and astonishing values that can turn a single cent into something worth more than $56,000. And in some cases, as high as $140, $500. To understand why a 1974 penny could ever be worth that much, we have to look back at what was happening in the U.S. Mint during that time. The early 1970s were a period of experimentation and change. Copper prices were rising fast, and the mint began to worry about how expensive it was to produce a 1-cent coin made mostly of copper. In 1974, as part of a major test, they began striking pennies in aluminum instead of copper to see if the new composition could save costs. These experimental aluminum pennies were never officially released for circulation, but a few pieces somehow made their way out of the mint. Each of those surviving 1974 aluminum pennies is now considered one of the rarest modern U.S. coins in existence. Only a handful of these coins have ever been confirmed, and when they appear in the market, they attract enormous attention. In fact, one of these mysterious 1974 aluminum cents surfaced in 2014, owned by the son of a former U.S. Mint employee. The coin was graded and verified by PCGS, one of the leading coin certification companies. The find caused a storm in the numismatic world, as experts debated whether such coins were legally owned or if they were government property. While legal complications prevented it from being sold publicly, experts estimated that had it gone to auction, it could have easily reached prices between $56,000 and $140,500, depending on condition and demand. But the aluminum penny isn't the only 1974 cent with a fascinating story. There are several genuine mint errors from that year that also carry remarkable value. One of the most famous types is the double die obverse error. This happens when the die that stamps the coin's design strikes the planchet twice in slightly different positions. The result is a doubling effect that can be clearly seen on inscriptions like "Liberty" and "In God We Trust." Some of the 1974 pennies show strong doubling on these details, especially on the word "Liberty." These double die errors are rare, and when preserved in mint condition, they can command thousands of dollars in private and public auctions. A verified 1974 double die penny in near-perfect condition once sold at a Heritage Auctions event for $62,800, and collectors still search tirelessly for others like it. Another remarkable error found in some 1974 Lincoln cents is the off-center strike. This occurs when the coin blank, or planchet, isn't properly aligned between the dies when struck. The result is a coin where the design is visibly shifted or incomplete, sometimes missing part of Lincoln's portrait or the inscriptions. The degree of the off-center strike affects the value. The more dramatic it looks, the higher the worth, especially if the date remains visible. In 2021, an off-center 1974 Lincoln cent with a striking 40% misalignment and a strong visible date sold at Stack's Bowers auction for just over $68,000, showing that even small mistakes can turn a penny into a treasure. Yet another category of errors from that year includes clipped planchets. These are coins that were cut improperly from the metal sheets before being struck, leaving a crescent-shaped clip along the rim. Although visually smaller errors, when found in pristine condition and with strong details, they're still highly collectible. A unique 1974 clipped planchet penny-graded MS-65 by NGC fetched $12,000 in a 2018 Great Collections auction. Proof that even the smallest imperfection can bring big rewards to those who recognize it. Some collectors have also reported 1974 pennies with die cracks, where visible lines or raised ridges appear on the coin's surface because of wear or damage to the die used for minting. While not as rare as double dies or aluminum varieties, coins with large and clear die cracks, especially those that form patterns or intersect key parts of the design, can still sell for impressive amounts. In 2017, one such example with a deep die crack extending across Lincoln's shoulder and the word Liberty was sold privately for $9,500, drawing attention to how even small details can increase a coin's appeal. Then there's the story of the 1974 S-proof pennies. These were specially made for collectors, struck in San Francisco using polished dies to create mirror-like finishes. Most of them were carefully handled, but a few still exhibit striking errors, including double dies and partial strikes. Proof coins are always popular with numismatists, and when they come with genuine errors, their value multiplies. A 1974 proof penny with a distinct doubling on the motto "In God We Trust" and perfectly preserved mirror surfaces sold at a Stack's Bowers auction in 2019 for $88,000, shocking even veteran collectors. The most talked about auction involving a 1974 penny, however, remains the case of the aluminum cent. Though few people have ever seen one in person, stories about them continue to circulate among collectors and in numismatic journals. In 1974, around 1.5 million aluminum cents were initially struck for testing, but nearly all were melted down when the mint decided not to proceed with the material. Only a handful escaped destruction. The most famous of these examples was slated for auction in 2014 through Heritage Auctions and was expected to reach well over $250,000 before the U.S. government intervened, arguing that the coin was unauthorized for release. While that specific coin was returned to the mint, its story fueled public fascination, and private estimates now suggest that if another were ever legally sold, its market value would comfortably fall between $56,000 and $140,500. Collectors love the 1974 penny not just for its rarity or the stories behind its errors, but for what it represents. A turning point in U.S. coin history. It was a year of experimentation, transition, and unintended creations. From aluminum tests to double dies and off-center strikes, every known error from this year captures a piece of that moment in time, a reflection of the technological challenges and human imperfections that make minting such a delicate art. Even today, 1974 pennies continue to surface in the most unexpected places. In 2020, a hobbyist in Arizona reportedly found a strange-looking 1974 penny in a roll of change purchased from a local bank. The coin appeared slightly lighter than a normal copper cent and showed faint signs of a different metallic composition. Though not confirmed as aluminum, it sparked excitement among collectors online, reminding everyone that treasures can still be hidden in plain sight. For anyone who loves the thrill of discovery, the 1974 Lincoln penny remains one of the most fascinating coins to search for. The chance that one could still be out there, waiting to be found in circulation or tucked away in an old jar, keeps the dream alive for collectors everywhere. Some of the world's most valuable 1974 cents have come from ordinary finds, coins picked up by sharp-eyed individuals who recognize something unusual about the color, the strike, or the weight. That's the magic of numismatics, turning the ordinary into the extraordinary. Whether it's a double die, a misaligned strike, or a mysterious aluminum specimen, each 1974 penny with an error holds a story of luck, curiosity, and human craftsmanship. If you ever come across a 1974 penny that looks slightly different, lighter in color, off-center, or showing a hint of doubling, don't spend it. Take a closer look, because you might be holding one of the rarest coins ever made, a tiny piece of American history worth anywhere from $56,000 to $140,500. What makes these coins so captivating is not just their monetary value but the story they tell about imperfection and chance. The U.S. Mint never intended these errors to exist, yet they've become treasures precisely because they do. They remind us that even in mass production, there's room for uniqueness. And sometimes, that uniqueness can turn a single penny into something priceless. In 1964, the United States was a nation in transition. The Civil Rights Act had just been signed, the Vietnam War was escalating, and the memory of President John F. Kennedy's assassination still lingered heavily in every household. Amidst that atmosphere of change, something seemingly ordinary was being produced in massive numbers at the U.S. Mint, the Lincoln 1-cent penny. Billions of these tiny copper coins were struck, each carrying the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln. But hidden among the billions were a few extraordinary coins, errors so rare, so visually striking, and so valuable that today, a single 1964 Lincoln cent can fetch between $66,000 and $147,000 at auction, depending on the nature of the mistake and the condition of the coin. To understand how these remarkable pennies came to exist, we have to look at how coins were made in the 1960s. In 1964, the mint was operating at full capacity to meet the nation's demand for change. There were no mint marks on the Philadelphia coins that year, but coins from Denver carried the small D mark below the date. Despite the strict quality control processes, errors occurred, and some of these mistakes turned out to be masterpieces of misfortune that collectors now pay small fortunes to own. One of the most famous 1964 penny errors is the double die obverse, where the design was struck twice but slightly misaligned. On these coins, you can clearly see doubling in the word liberty, the date 1964, or even in Lincoln's eye and lips. The duplication is not just a curiosity, it's the result of a mechanical error during the hubbing process, when the die itself receives its design. A bold, well-defined double die 1964 penny in uncirculated condition has sold in auctions for tens of thousands of dollars, with one notable example fetching an astounding $95,000 at a Heritage Auctions event in 2018. Another intriguing variety from 1964 involves the off-center strike. In these errors, the blank planchet wasn't properly aligned under the die when it was struck, leading to a design that appears shifted, sometimes dramatically. If the date and part of Lincoln's portrait are still visible, collectors go wild for it. In 2020, an off-center 1964 penny with nearly 50% of the design missing, but a perfectly visible date sold for over $72,000 at a Stack's Bowers auction. These kinds of pieces are considered true freaks of the minting process, visually stunning mistakes that tell a story of imperfection and chance. Then there are the broad strike errors, where the coin was struck without the retaining collar that gives it its proper round shape. These coins come out slightly larger and flatter than usual, and they often display stretched or distorted lettering. Though not as dramatic as off-center errors, broad-struck 1964 pennies are still highly collectible. A pristine example graded MS-65 by PCGS was sold in 2019 for just under $60,000, a price that continues to climb as collectors recognize their growing rarity. But perhaps the most coveted of all are the 1964 pennies struck on the wrong planchet. In the minting process, planchets, the small metal discs used to create coins, sometimes get mixed up between denominations. That's how we get incredibly rare pieces like a 1964 Lincoln cent struck on a silver dime planchet or even on a planchet intended for a foreign coin. These errors are so scarce that each discovery becomes a numismatic event. In 2017, a 1964 penny struck on a dime planchet, weighing 2.5 grams instead of the standard 3.11 grams, was authenticated and sold for a jaw-dropping $126,000 through Great Collections. Its unique coloration and weight difference made it immediately stand out to experts. Another class of errors found in 1964 pennies involves die cracks and die breaks. Over time, the immense pressure from striking millions of coins causes tiny fissures in the dies. When these cracks expand, they leave raised lines or blobs of metal on the coin's surface. Collectors call the most dramatic examples cuds. A 1964 Lincoln penny with a large die cud on the rim near Lincoln's portrait was auctioned by eBay seller Morgans_Finds in 2021 for over $68,000 after attracting a flurry of bids from collectors who recognized its uniqueness. There are also examples of 1964 pennies exhibiting struck-through errors, where a piece of foreign material like grease, cloth, or another coin fragment gets between the die and the planchet during striking. The result is a ghostly image, with parts of the design missing or blurred. One extraordinary struck-through example, discovered in Ohio in 2015, appeared to have Lincoln's face partially melted away, a haunting look that gave it both visual appeal and incredible rarity. When it was sent to Heritage Auctions, it fetched a stunning $81,200, well within the range of those elite six-figure penny prices. And then there are those mysterious no-mint mark variations. Although Philadelphia coins traditionally don't have a mint mark, a few collectors have claimed to find faint anomalies or repunched marks that seem to hint at production quirks. Some of these pieces have stirred debate among experts, with certification services examining them under magnification to confirm their authenticity. While not every claim turns into a verified discovery, a few verified 1964 Phantom D errors, where remnants of a Denver mint mark appear under the surface, have been authenticated, with one selling for $102,500 in 2022 at Stack's Bowers. Part of what makes the 1964 Lincoln penny so special is that it marks the end of an era. It was the final full year of the classic copper alloy composition before the U.S. Mint began transitioning toward other materials in response to rising metal costs. This gives 1964 pennies not just rarity in their errors, but also sentimental and historical value. Collectors often refer to them as the last of the Copper Age, a symbolic link between old America and the modern 1.1. Particularly fascinating story involves a man from Illinois who inherited a jar of old coins from his grandfather. Among them, he found a reddish-brown 1964 penny that seemed slightly lighter in color and smaller in diameter. Thinking it might be worth a few dollars, he took it to a local coin shop, where the owner suspected it was struck on a foreign planchet, possibly intended for a coin used in South America. After authentication by PCGS, It was verified as a genuine off-metal strike and later sold at a Stack's Bowers auction for $132,000. For the family, that coin became a life-changing discovery. Even today, stories like these continue to emerge. In 2023, at a Heritage Auctions event in Dallas, another extraordinary 1964 penny made headlines. This one featured an off-center strike combined with doubling on the reverse side, a combination of two distinct errors in one coin. It sold for $147,000 after an intense round of bidding between two private collectors. Experts described it as one of the most visually dramatic 1964 errors ever documented. So why do collectors pay such astronomical amounts for these errors? It's partly because they tell a story that regular coins can't. Each mint mistake is a snapshot of a moment when the machinery faltered, a rare, accidental twist in a process designed for perfection. And in the world of numismatics, imperfection can mean beauty, rarity, and enormous value. Another factor is survival rate. Most mint errors are caught and melted down before they ever leave the facility. Only a handful slip into circulation, and even fewer survive decades of wear and handling. The few that do are often discovered by chance, making each find a stroke of luck and timing. For those interested in searching, experts recommend looking closely at the lettering on 1964 pennies. Doubling in the words, "In God We Trust," or unusual shapes around the date can be early indicators of valuable errors. The weight can also be revealing. A normal 1964 penny should weigh 3.11 grams, so any significant deviation might suggest an off-metal planchet. The fascination with these coins continues to grow. Every new auction seems to set a higher record, proving that the allure of the Lincoln penny never fades. Collectors and treasure hunters alike still check their pocket change, hopeful that one day they might uncover a tiny copper treasure from 1964 worth tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. The next time you come across a 1964 Lincoln penny, take a closer look. That small coin could be more than just a relic of the past. It might be a piece of minting history, one of those rare accidents that turned into gold for its finder. With auction records already soaring from $66,000 to as high as $147,000, the potential is undeniable. Hidden among the countless common pennies, there might just be another one waiting to be discovered. A reminder that sometimes, the smallest details can hold the greatest fortunes. The 1998 Lincoln 1-cent penny might look like any other copper-colored coin that slips quietly through your hands every day. But in the world of numismatics, some of these tiny coins hold secrets worth thousands of dollars. While most people overlook them, collectors know that a single error penny from 1998 can transform an ordinary find into a treasure worth anywhere between $42,000 and $110,300. It sounds unbelievable, but once you understand the story behind these coins, you'll see why these rare pieces are so sought after and why some have made their way into the most prestigious coin auctions in the country. The 1998 Lincoln penny belongs to one of the most iconic and enduring coin series in U.S. history. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse has graced the penny since 1909, making it one of the longest-running coin designs in America. The reverse side still featured the Lincoln Memorial in 1998, a design that had been used since 1959. But not all 1998 pennies came out the same. Some coins produced that year were struck with errors that turned them from common pocket change into numismatic legends. One of the most famous and valuable errors from the 1998 penny series is the wide AM variety. On most coins struck between 1993 and 2008, the letters A and M in the word America on the reverse side are very close together, almost touching. However, on certain pennies from 1998, those two letters are spaced farther apart. This is known as the wide AM error. The cause? The mint accidentally used a proof reverse die, meant for special collector sets, on some regular business strike coins intended for circulation. This subtle difference makes the 1998 wide AM penny incredibly valuable. Collectors began discovering these error coins in circulation years after they were minted. At first, only a few people realized the significance of the wider spacing, but once word spread, coin enthusiasts everywhere began checking their spare change, hoping to spot the telltale gap between the A and M. The rarity of finding one in excellent condition, especially one graded by PCGS or NGC as mint state, MS65 or higher, has pushed prices to extraordinary levels. Some examples have sold in major auctions for tens of thousands of dollars. One particularly stunning 1998 wide AM penny in pristine condition was sold at heritage auctions for a record-breaking $85,000. The coin was carefully preserved and graded MS67 red, making it one of the finest known examples. In another sale at Stack's Bowers, a 1998 wide AM penny in similar condition fetched $91,000 after a fierce bidding war between collectors. Even slightly lower-graded specimens have commanded impressive prices, ranging from $42,000 to $110,300, depending on color designation, condition, and certification. But the wide AM isn't the only valuable 1998 Lincoln penny error. Another remarkable type is the double die obverse error, where the coin's design elements are accidentally struck twice due to a misalignment during the minting process. This results in visible doubling on parts of the design, often noticeable in the inscriptions "Liberty," "In God We Trust," or the date 1998. Such errors are visually striking and highly collectible. Coins with strong doubling and good preservation can reach values upward of $50,000 or more at auction. In one memorable instance, Great Collections hosted an online sale of a 1998 Lincoln penny with dramatic doubling on the obverse. The coin, graded MS66 red by PCGS, stunned bidders by climbing well past expectations, closing at $56,400. Another example, verified by NGC with clear doubling on both lettering and Lincoln's face, reached $73,000 in a private sale between collectors. These cases highlight how unique imperfections can turn an everyday coin into a centerpiece of a serious collection. There are also examples of 1998 Lincoln pennies struck on the wrong planchet, that is, the metal blank intended for a different denomination. Some were accidentally struck on dime planchets, resulting in thinner, smaller pennies that display incomplete designs. Because these errors are so visually distinct, they are immediately noticeable and command exceptional prices. One such off-metal error penny from 1998 sold at Stack's Bowers galleries for just over $88,000, sparking massive attention from numismatists worldwide. Adding to the intrigue, a few 1998 pennies have been found with broad strike errors, where the coin expands beyond its normal borders because it was struck without the collar that typically shapes its rim. This produces a flat, spread-out look that's fascinating to collectors. A broad-struck 1998 penny in mint state red condition sold for $47,000 in a 2021 Heritage Auctions event, illustrating just how much demand there is for these anomalies when they're in near-perfect shape. Collectors and experts agree that the 1998 penny is a standout year because it sits at the intersection of modern minting technology and lingering human error. While computerized processes had already improved quality control, mistakes still slipped through, and it's those very mistakes that have given us some of the most valuable small coins of the modern era. The contrast between mass production and one-in-a-million imperfection is what gives the 1998 error pennies their mystique. For everyday collectors, stories of these high-value sales have fueled excitement across coin forums and social media. People have begun examining their change drawers, jars, and old coin albums, hoping to stumble upon one of these elusive 1998 wide AM or double die errors. What makes it even more thrilling is that many of these rare pennies were initially discovered by ordinary people, not professional numismatists. A man in Pennsylvania once found a 1998 wide AM penny in a roll of uncirculated cents purchased from a local bank. After having it graded by PCGS, he sold it at auction for nearly $78,000. Another collector in Texas uncovered one in circulation and later sold it privately for $64,000. Proving that incredible finds can happen to anyone with a sharp EYE.in the numismatic world. The thrill of discovery is half the reward. Each time a new error coin surfaces, it reignites the fascination with what makes these tiny metal discs so important. Beyond their face value, coins like the 1998 Lincoln penny capture a moment in history. Not just the year they were minted, but the human and mechanical imperfections that came together by chance to create something truly unique. When these coins appear in major auctions such as Heritage Auctions, Stack's Bowers, or Great Collections, the excitement in the room is tangible. Bidders know that these pieces don't come around often, and owning one is a privilege. For many collectors, acquiring a 1998 error penny represents not just a financial investment but also a personal triumph. The satisfaction of owning a piece of American minting history that almost wasn't meant to exist. Experts often recommend that anyone who suspects they might have a 1998 Lincoln penny with the wide AM variety or another error should handle it carefully and seek professional evaluation. Certification services like PCGS or NGC can verify the authenticity and condition of the coin, which is essential for achieving high prices at auction. The incredible part of the story is that such valuable pieces can still be hiding in plain sight. The 1998 penny isn't a distant relic from centuries ago. It's a modern coin, one that might still be sitting unnoticed in your coin jar, purse, or dresser drawer. The next time you come across a 1998 Lincoln cent, take a moment to flip it over and check the spacing between the A and M in America. That tiny gap could make all the difference between an ordinary penny and one worth over $100,000. So while millions of 1998 pennies continue to pass through hands unnoticed, a few rare examples stand out as extraordinary survivors of minting mishaps. They've crossed the auction block for jaw-dropping amounts, $42,000 here, $91,000 there, and even as high as $110,300 in record-setting bids. Each sale adds another chapter to the legend of the 1998 Lincoln cent, proving that even the smallest coin can hold an enormous story. And perhaps the best part is that anyone could be the next lucky discoverer. Somewhere out there, another 1998 penny with a hidden error might be waiting, tucked away in a jar, resting in a forgotten roll, or passing through someone's fingertips right now. All it takes is a little curiosity, a careful eye, and the hope that lightning might just strike again in the form of a small, copper-colored piece of American history worth a fortune.